Hello, Patriotic Christian here. Do we really need a constitution? That's the question I'm addressing today, because many people today do sort of have this attitude that the United States Constitution is obsolete or, irrelevant, out of date. It doesn't really matter, so we can just kind of ignore it. So do they have a point? Or do the constitutionalists have a point that we should actually care about what it says and follow it? So to start with, I'm going to define what a constitution is. So I have here a Webster's 1828 dictionary, and I'm not going to read all the definitions because the word constitution can mean a few different things. But in our context, I'm going to focus on those definitions. So first, it's the act of constituting, enacting, establishing, or appointing. And then there's a longer definition pertaining to our topic: the established form of government in a state, kingdom, or country, a system of fundamental rules, principles, and ordinances for the government of a state or nation. In free states, the Constitution is paramount to the statutes or laws enacted by the legislature, limiting and controlling its power. And in the United States, the legislature is created and its powers designated by the Constitution. So that's what a constitution is. But then the question still remains, well, why do we need one? Or why would we want one? And in order to answer that basic question, I like to ask another question. And that is, should government have unlimited power? Is there anything that government should not do? Now, people will disagree on what the government should and shouldn't do, but I think pretty much everyone will agree that government should have some limitations. As a bizarre example, you probably don't want government dictating what you're allowed to wear, right? Telling you what color clothes you have to wear, or what colors you're allowed to wear on any given day. I mean, that's absurd, it's ridiculous, but if a government has no limits, what's to prevent it from making such rules? So I think everyone will agree on the very basic level that government should have limitations. So then that brings up the next question, well, how do you put limitations on government? Because government is power, government is force. And so how do you actually put limitations on it, right? And as an example that I would like to use is, let's just say you have two basketball teams, right? They're playing basketball. Now, let's just imagine that a player on one of the teams decides that certain rules of the game are outdated, they're irrelevant and obsolete, and he's just going to not follow them anymore. Is he justified in doing that just because he feels like they don't apply anymore or they don't apply to him? Of course not. Now, it's possible that that player might have a point. Maybe those rules are obsolete. Maybe they do need to change. But how do you change them? I mean, you don't change them by just convincing your team to stop following the rules, right? That ruins the game. What happens to the other team? Eventually nobody follows the rules and you just have chaos. So the idea of having a set of rules is, I think, easy to understand and necessary. And that's essentially what the Constitution is, or any constitution for that matter. It's really just a set of rules for operation, just like the rules of the game in basketball would dictate how the game is played. So too, the rules of the Constitution dictate how government operates. And if you've seen my previous videos about legitimate and illegitimate government and rights and the ability for people to delegate responsibilities to government and stuff, then you should understand the basic concept of what a constitution is for. And it's for putting limitations on government and also setting out the rules of how it operates. So this is both a matter of process, but it's also, well, here's an illustration I've got. So in this illustration, I've got an example of unlimited government. Now, this unlimited government obviously is unlimited. It has no limitations on what it can and cannot do. And so in this example, the government is doing all of the 5 things that I chose to write down here. Now on the bottom example, we've got a limited government. Now in this example, you have government that's limited, and you can see by the lines here, it's doing these 2 things, but just imagine there's like this sort of barrier between here so that it's authorized to do these things, but it is either not authorized to do these things, or in some cases it's specifically prohibited from doing any of these things. Like, for example, in the United States Constitution, the Constitution authorizes government to provide security for the country and the states. It also authorizes the government to build roads, like infrastructure and stuff. The government is not authorized to dictate or control education. It is not authorized to control or provide your income. And it is not authorized to control or provide religion. In fact, in this particular case, it's actually specifically prohibited. So in addition to this line of no, not authorized to do, it's actually got like an extra shield here because they were especially concerned about that one. So that's the idea behind a constitution, is limiting government. Because if you don't limit government, it will grow out of control and it will control you. And so this is why I do believe that, yes, we do need a constitution. And not only is it relevant today, it is more relevant than ever before. Because today we have people that are violating it left and right. And when you read the document, U.S. Constitution, it is the supreme law of the land. And if you really think about the ramifications of that, anyone who passes laws either ignoring the Constitution or directly contradicting it, they are actually violating the law, the higher law, the supreme law. This is the law that we, the people, imposed on our government because we were concerned that they would become masters instead of servants. We, the people, are supposed to be the masters of our own government. And when government violates the rules we gave them, they're like that basketball team that stops following the rules because they think they know better. But in reality, they're just being rebellious. They're just breaking the rules. They're breaking the law. And it's wrong. We need to stop it. If we don't stop it, we've got the rules. We, the people, are supposed to enforce them. And we do that through voting. We do that through a jury. We do that through, in extreme cases, overthrowing the government. And we can do that through petitioning. And we can do that through suing. We can do that through freedom of speech and making more people aware, which is what I'm doing here. So anyway, I hope this helps, and I'll catch you on the next video.